Hey, I'm and
Hi, my name is Erin Carranza, and
hey,
I'd like to welcome you to Transformation Through Reunification. And my guest tonight is attorney Michael Isaac, and we are going to talk about motions to set aside, correct?
correct. Motion to set aside default judgments and clearing up um, orders. So we're going to talk basically about generally about orders. When a judgment makes an order, what does that mean? How do you fix it? Can I
Right. Like
back?
in divorce.
Is it over? What happens?
Can like
So,
in divorce cases,
yeah, in
can
divorce.
you I know we're jumping right into it, but we have a question is can you have a divorce judgment set aside?
Um, this background thing's ridiculous. How do I do that?
Um, you can turn off your camera and we can still hear you, and then you can best ooh.
There we go.
There, that's
My
better.
office looks just fine. But okay. All right. And we're live. No. So it's basically just, it all comes down to we just had a hearing, the judge just made an order.
Mhm.
Now what? We just had a trial. The judge made an order. Now what?
Mhm.
Or we um
Now you
by
can't set aside
default,
a you can't
right?
set aside a judgment just because you don't like it, right?
Yeah.
There
Oh,
has to be terms.
so there's different ways to set us. So okay, we'll just start with let's start from the beginning. All right. Now let's say default judgment. How do you get a default? What does that mean?
Yeah. What's the
Um,
default judgment?
so 30. So you get served, right? 30 days goes by,
Mhm.
and then um, you don't respond. The court doesn't hear from you. You don't hire an attorney. You don't say anything. You just think it's not time or whatever. But you have 30 days. Most people think like, oh, I'll get to it. All right. And you have 30 days. So if you got it and you have notice of it, right, and you have an opportunity to be heard because that's in the Constitution. It's called notice and opportunity to be heard, right? That's due
Mhm.
process. So if you have that and you don't respond, then you're in trouble, right? But there's different variations. So I'll get to that too. But if you don't respond in 30 days and you have a valid reason, which a lot of people do, and if you have a good attorney, he'll find out through the facts. And if you have this, then you file a motion to set aside default judgment.
Mhm.
Um, a motion set aside, you have to write a declaration. You have to write memorandum points and authorities.
Mhm.
You have to talk about notice of the hearing or the papers, and then if you have a good enough reason, you go to the hearing and then you argue it. Obviously, the other side's going to say they knew,
Right.
right?
Right.
Flashing lights around, you must respond to this, and you did nothing.
Uh-huh.
So they're going to make hard arguments. You're an idiot. You didn't do anything, right? So
What Okay, keep going because I have two more. I just had some questions pop up, but let's keep
okay, great.
going.
So then um, there's different levels of setting aside different things. So depending on the seriousness, and I'll tell you a little bit about that, but we can go for it.
I was just going to say, what happens if you had an attorney who didn't respond? How is that a valid reason to, and how
Yeah.
do you deal with that?
Well, it's notice, right? They have
But
notice.
what if the attorney got notice and then you never knew?
If your
And
attorney
so,
screwed up and never and respond and like didn't respond on time,
uh-huh.
then he's got to file a motion to set that aside, just
Mhm,
like I said.
mhm,
That's your catch. But you only have 6 months to do it,
mhm,
right? If you didn't learn about this going down for 6 months, so you could have a default, 30 days can go by, and then unless the other side enters default, it's not a default judgment.
mhm,
So a lot of people think, oh my God, I got to set aside the default. Oh, it's been 30 days. No, there's no default yet,
mhm.
but you didn't respond. So you got to respond to that with the motion saying like why it took you so long.
Right.
Or you could just respond without an excuse for why it took so long. But if you have a good reason why it took so long, then that's good. But then again, like I was gonna talk about the variations, right?
Right.
So I had this client, and I was representing him. He had a default, and we're going to court, and they filed this motion of why the court should not dismiss and keep the default. And I looked at the case, and I was like, you defaulted, but you didn't lose anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't have a house.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have property. You don't have a 401k. You guys are just, married without, all these assets and things need to be split. What did you default on? What did you lose?
Right.
And so, what it turned out to be was like she asked for 100% custody or something crazy like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just had a hearing on visitation. And you can always file an RFO for that. So that means, so you don't have to always get rid of the default to start
Can
modifying
you
things.
can you do a bifurcation and you separate those up and
Well,
then
no.
default if there's assets involved?
So, bifurcation is when you separate the marriage from the assets,
Right.
right? The finances.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't do that after a default. You would set the default aside and let the marriage part kind of go away and just worried about the financials, because
Right.
the financials is really what you're losing on, right?
Right.
She keeps taking your truck and the dog and the house and the banjo and everything like that. And so then what are you going to do, right? You want to get that back. But if it's
Mhm.
like, oh, but you also want to be divorced, why are you going to fight that?
Right.
Ultimately, you want to be divorced, right? So unless you don't want to be divorced, then you're going to fight it. But in California, as you know, it just takes one person to
Mhm.
file for divorce. So that's that. Unless the family thing is there's something connected to that. If there's something connected to why they should set aside like the visitation or anything like that. But I can't. I mean, if you can think of something.
So I have a client who um was never given notice about the divorce and it went into the default. It was granted. The client had an attorney. The attorney never responded. The client never knew. And the father lost custody of the child. Everything that the mother wanted in the divorce petition was
We lost
granted.
custody in the divorce. Oh, that's what I meant. Like everything in the divorce petition is granted when it's entered that there was a default. But
Mhm.
those things are modifiable later, except for like financial stuff.
Right. So what I'm saying is, so the client didn't know about any of this because the attorney forgot or got
Yeah,
busy or whatever and lost because the default was granted
yeah.
and lost custody, lost everything.
Wow.
Is there
Well, the remedy for that
is that
is
a default file of the motion to set aside?
you file the motion set aside, but you only have 6 months, right?
Okay.
Or you just modify the issues,
Mhm.
like instead of filing so to save the client money or to fix it for them, I would do everything if I did something like that, right? I would file a motion, I would do an RFO, I'd set aside the judgment, all sorts
Mhm.
of stuff. Yeah. So that needs to be done. It has to be done within 6 months. Now, if like the judge, if you do that and the judge says no, I'm not gonna remove the default, then the question is, would that judge have um, entered or made these results or judged this whole case and at the
Mhm.
end made this the order? If not, then there's some fault with the attorney or
I was
uh,
gonna say, isn't there some kind of
not
responsibility of the
communication.
attorney?
Yes, yeah, obviously, right? They're supposed to be on it. Can't miss stuff. Can't miss dates
Right.
to file a response. But at the same time, um, if the damages are the same as they would have been, then what are you going to go back and say you screwed up on? I mean, that would be lucky, right? The attorney would be lucky. but shouldn't I mean, yeah, just set it aside, go in there, right? Attorneys are people too, right? So they can make mistakes just like
Of
anybody.
course. Of
And
course.
if they do, they have to own up to it. And they have to explain what happened, why
Right.
they shouldn't be sanctioned by the court, why they shouldn't be, issues with any administrative stuff. So that's the issue. I mean, if it happens a lot. I mean,
Mhm.
that person's not going to be the first attorney that happened to, but what matters is how do you respond to it, right? And I mean, there's obviously sounds like there was a lack of communication. I mean, from
Or the attorney's overworked or what, has too
yeah,
many
exactly.
cases, blah, 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 blah.
That's not cool. You got to have a shed cases like
But there's, there's got to be some kind of, and I think this is where we get into the motion to set aside, some kind of relief for parents that are in that predicament that have no idea and that it's no fault of their own. They thought, okay, I hired an attorney
yeah.
to help me, can we just start over? I still want a divorce, but I don't want to lose custody of my son and I don't want to be homeless. So just to wipe the slate clean and start over would be a motion to set aside, correct?
Well, yeah, yeah, of course.
Mhm.
I had a client who um, just you know his wife called a restraining order, called the police, got kicked out of the house, restraining order, had no place to go. Lived in his car, lived would go to the park, pay $60 or whatever for the fee for the months, 3 months, whatever it was. And he lived in his car and
Mhm.
he took showers at the park and he cooked on the grill
Mhm.
and he was depressed and rightfully so. It's very stressful what's going on. This is not, and I'll tell you another story. This is somebody else, but this is not something that you should be doing alone. It's too stressful unless you have some support system, and you're able to do this, and it's not that big of a deal. But this stuff is too stressful for one person to do, and even for attorneys, if it's them, they get help. They have someone else help them. It's not like,
Right.
well, I'll just do it. I'll take care of it. No.
Right.
So, it's really stressful. So he's in this park and he's living his life, trying to figure out what he's going to do. He has no money. Um, I guess they had these apartments or something they would rent out. That's how they made money. So she had control over all of it. He had nothing.
Mhm.
And then he got a hold of me, and I wrote motion to set aside
Mhm.
the judgment. She would have got the house. She would have got full custody. She would have got everything.
Mhm.
And I set that aside. I went to the hearing, argued it, set that aside, and that's just what you do. Now, look, that's extreme, right? You're going to lose your house.
Mhm.
There's a lot of policy and a lot of case law that says no. You're There's some serious stuff. It's all favored to set the default side, all of it. It's a pretty easy thing to do. I mean, if you're not doing it and you just like let it blow off and make some excuse, then it's bullshit.
Right. Well, and again, I want to stress that a motion to set aside is not because you don't like what the judge said. You're not going to get granted
Yeah,
that just because you don't like the orders. There has to be,
that's different.
right, extenuating circumstances for them to set aside
Yeah.
your divorce petition.
Okay, so I'll give you another example of like if a judge orders something, you want that set aside.
Mhm.
Um, I had a case where this woman walks into the courthouse, files for ex parte, says this guy's a drunk, abusive, angry person. He's drinking in the car with my kid. He's hitting his girlfriend, and my kid's seeing all this stuff.
Mm.
All fake, all lies. Turn out
Mhm.
everything, every single thing she said. But the judge ordered that the dad couldn't see his kid for like 2 months
Mhm.
during the holidays.
Right,
And
because
so,
they're erring on the side of caution,
yeah,
and I find out it seems to me that lately the restraining orders are being used as swords and not shields against the
yeah.
other parent to keep them in
Yeah.
separation with their children.
Well, if you're privy to how what was considered as a emergency,
Mhm.
um, then kind of things are there's child abuse going
Yep.
on.
Yep.
There's fear of abduction,
Right.
um, and I think those are pretty much the two things.
Drug or alcohol abuse.
Yeah, that's abuse. So like an umbrella, anything. Arguing with your girlfriend, drinking, driving drunk, doing drugs, whatever it was. That's
Oh,
all
and severe mental health. That's another one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Mental.
So, you play on all those things. The judge is like reading it. It's all that's in front of them. Did you give the other side notice? No, I was scared to what they're gonna do. Right? You didn't have no notice. Boom. Judge orders 2 months. You don't see your kid.
Right.
What the hell? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna set the judgment aside.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna file, but you have to write the law. You have to explain the law of why. And so in those cases, when you file a motion to set a judgment aside for child abuse or whatever the case is,
Can you do that for restraining orders in California?
allegations are not enough, right? You can't do allegations are not enough. No, restraining orders are different.
Okay.
So if you have a restraining order, then you're going to wait the 2 weeks or 14 days or whatever it is until your hearing. And you're supposed to have a short amount of time. But there's also
14 days.
Yeah. But there's also attorneys who know how to play that card, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to continue. I have a right to do that, or that we don't have enough time to hear this case today.
Mm-hmm.
I have 10 witnesses outside and a truckload more in the parking lot. They all want to testify. I have 40 exhibits. I need 6 hours. Well, when are you going to get 6 hours in the courtroom? 3-4 months? So I mean, that's the strategy. These people, you need an attorney. So,
well, I had a client who had 7 continuances on a TRO.
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you
How did that happen?
7? The other side kept saying, "Oh, I need this," or "I wasn't served this," and dragging it out, and the court got to the point where they sent it downtown here from Pomona. They sent it down to Los Angeles to be dealt with up there because the judge lost control of the courtroom. 7 continuances.
Yeah, wow. That's incredible.
And they're still going.
I have a case tomorrow, marital settlement agreement. Like it has to be, it's mandatory settlement agreement conference. But I'm not going to have to agree. I think if you're there and you're not privy to how these things work, you're going to feel that mandatory. It means that it's mandatory. I have to settle today. No, it's just mandatory that you have this conference.
Right. You have to show up and be there. You don't have to mandatory.
Yeah.
Now, can you set aside like annulments? Or
you mean like a divorce?
Right. Sorry, somebody just asked me, can you set aside an annulment?
So if you're married and you're married for a short amount of time and you hit some of these points, then you just file for an annulment. You file for that, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I understand what she's saying. She wants to dismiss the case, right?
She's still typing. I asked her to explain. But yes, I think that's where she was going.
Yeah. She's like, well, let's dismiss this. It was a judgment that was made that we're married. I don't know. We'll find out soon. But yeah. Now let's talk about minute orders.
Right.
What does that mean? Is that an order?
No.
Was it signed by the judge?
No.
It's a record of what happened, right?
It's like a short list. It's not your transcripts, so make sure you know that's the difference. It's not transcripts. It's just the little blip.
So you got your minute order, and it's just a record of what happened in court, and it's admissible, right? It's like, hey, this is proof.
And it's public record. Anybody can see it.
Yeah. So that's a great thing. But then one side has to write an order after hearing, unless the judge makes the order, the minute order, an order after hearing, the order of the court. And so, I mean, an order after hearing is basically both attorneys or both sides or one side gets the chance to do it. Obviously, the winning side, the judge says, hey, you write it, file it. And so when they do that, that becomes the judgment.
I was trying to see if I had my latest minute orders because I was going to show them what they look like.
Yeah. Also, like, say the court reporter's name in the top right corner. If we still have court reporters, because I think they're going away.
I thought they were going away like this week.
I think they're gone. Gone. But different proceedings, you'll have different orders. So, court reporters. It's criminal, quasi-criminal, then you're going to have a court reporter. If you have that.
And juvenile has the court reporter, right? Yeah.
So basically just family law hearings or civil hearings with,
In my opinion, where you need to have it and you should have one. And if you have the money to hire one, please do, because as Mike and I know, things are said in court that are not put in the minute orders. And you're like, so it's to your benefit.
Yeah, and it's also, you should probably get the transcripts. If you have the opportunity, if you have the opportunity to get transcripts. You can't record in courtrooms. I don't think, I'm not sure how that works, but every courtroom I've ever been into, I think it has something else. There's criminal, there's civil, there's courts that do it.
Yeah, you're not allowed to record on your phone or your computer privately.
In a lot of cases, you can watch from remotely.
Or you can call in.
No, like as a spectator.
Right, you can call in and listen too.
Right.
I had to eject somebody from my hearing.
Okay.
That's how I know. That's how I know this stuff is because I'm going through it. But oh no, I forgot what I was gonna say. Anyways, shoot. I don't remember. It was something to do with that. Anyways, moving on, my brain.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can listen to, and isn't it you can go into court and just sit and observe, correct? You don't have to be an attorney. You can just walk in and say you're bored and you want to sit inside family law. You can just.
Yeah. The only people who can't sit in court while a proceeding is happening is a witness. And they don't want them to sit in there because they're listening to everything going on, and then they're going to have the upper hand when it comes to answering questions. So if you're in court and you know that like someone's there on the other side, sitting there watching, listening, just, you want them out, you can say, Your Honor, I want this person out because they might be called as a witness in my case, and I don't want to hear this.
So I'll tell you about mine is my stalker, the person I have a restraining order against, tried to listen in on my divorce proceedings, and they were granted. It was granted. And I went online and I checked my case to see if anything was filed, any new events that I didn't know about. And I saw that somebody called in and requested to listen on the phone. And so I called the clerk and I was like, look, if it's this person, I have a restraining order against that person. I don't think that they should be listening. And I think that's a violation of their restraining order. She was like, oh, I've never had to deal with this before. So let me call you back. They called me back. The judge vacated it, thankfully. And it says if you go and look on your online and you put your case number in, you can see your minute orders and you can see events and hearing times and dates. But that's the only reason I knew was because I happened to check the day 2 days before our hearing.
Right.
Or it was for my ex's order to show cause hearing. She was trying to get in on there. And so you don't, like you said, you don't know who's listening. And I was able to be like, hey, restraining order, please don't let this person listen.
Right.
But if you don't have that situation, you said to, is that counselor? He's so cute. You can still, just because you don't have a restraining order, you can still ask the judge to not have the person in the courtroom. Can you say because I'm uncomfortable with this person, or do you have to have like?
If there's somebody that's there that's supporting the other side, or just somebody random who's also harassing you.
Yeah. Well, no harassing.
Stalking you, whatever.
What if that person just has wee beady eyes and is creeping you out? You can't just ask them to be kicked out.
You could pause the hearing and just be like, it's something. I'm not sure what it is.
Giving me the willies.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Your Honor, this guy looks like a hitman. I need out.
um, so back to set aside. Can you do that for custody in order to
Um,
set aside a
yeah,
custody agreement?
yeah, yeah. You just have to have a good reason, and
Mhm.
everything has to go by the law. So there's all sorts of law, and like I tell listeners, the law that you need is the family code, the rules of court,
Mhm.
and just plain old research.
Mhm.
Google stuff, look at cases. It's just tough. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know how to do it, so I don't know if what I do if I didn't know how to do it. Like, I
Right,
know that
right.
I can Google stuff, I can write stuff, I can whatever, right? So before I went to law school, I knew how to do all this like research
Mhm.
and whatever, but I didn't know how to put it together. And so I think that if you give it a really good shot and you want to try it, you don't have to make it perfect.
Mhm.
I think the judge will read it, should read it, and then you'll have your day in court. So that's what I think. But you have to be genuine.
We have another comment from the viewers. It says, I'm coming up on a contested 2.6 hearing. Is there anything that I can do?
Is there anything you think you can do?
This is Tim, one of our viewers, on a contested 2.6 hearing.
Oh,
Um,
so I think
in that dependency court, Tim?
2.6 is that adoption or
I,
something like that.
I think that's
Is that what it
dependency
is,
court.
Tim? I do family law, um, or is that
That's
that's
dependency
CPS?
court.
Yeah,
Yeah, and Mike, yeah, it's
I'm
dependency
not really
court.
versed in that.
And
Yeah, I
Mike,
mean, I have experience with exit orders and when it goes to family law. So right now you're in CPS world, right? Children's
mhm.
court. And when that closes and you get your exit orders, then your family law will open up. And then you can change everything, well, given the circumstances, right? I mean,
Well,
um,
you and I know how well that goes with exit
yeah.
orders and
Well, I
dependency
mean,
court.
if you're coming out of children's court for drugs or abuse or issues like that, and it's still, a question of whether or not that's going to happen. Is a kid safe yet? Then you just got to go through the hurdles and go through those presumptions,
Mhm.
right? And eliminate all those things, eliminate all the fear. It's just going to take a while,
Yeah,
and
we're
realistically, it's going to take 2 to 3 years. It's not going to be, oh, I did everything in a month and I'm good. No, like
well,
you're
you
gonna
can do everything in a month, but that doesn't mean the court is going to see you in a month.
exactly, exactly.
Mike and I have been he's been, my friend in a previous representation before, and it's been a year and a half since I left dependency court. And it's like, what are we on now? Our seventh hearing. And now
Yeah,
everything comes to a grinding halt because we have an order to show cause hearing coming up for 38 violations of our custody hearing. And apparently once that happens, then nothing else gets addressed until
right.
the OSC is because it's criminal, right?
Mhm. Yeah, it's contempt, right? So it's quasi criminal, and but they have the same rights and defenses as if it was criminal.
Right. So that's why he has a public defender and I don't.
Right. Right to speedy trial,
Mhm.
um, decide whether or not you're going to take the stand,
Mhm.
criminal procedural, not criminal procedure, but there's rules when it comes to character evidence and the Fifth Amendment, right? So you want to keep your mouth shut, you can. You don't want to implicate yourself in a crime.
Mhm.
I had a client, um, like the best thing that we did was just not. Hold on. Yes, of
Tim,
course, Tim.
Tim.
Uh,
I was
absolutely,
wondering why they weren't coming up there.
yeah. So that's where I came from. So basically, I was working for a child. What would you call it? Dependency
He's a
attorney,
dependency court attorney.
and
Yeah.
I would get all of the cases that closed from dependency court, and then I became the family law attorney for those people. And
And that's
so
how we met.
that's how we met. And then
Mhm.
I would modify visitation, things like that. Do that for tons of people. Yeah, I can definitely do that. And you could definitely do that. It's going to take some time, though, and it depends on what happens. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that you're the one or the reason. Maybe it's both parents. But it's the other person. But it's just going to take some time to go through the hurdles and prove that you're ready,
So
and that you're stable, and that you're not on drugs, and
Mhm.
or whatever the case may be.
with my when I exited dependency court, I left with my custody intact. They gave me visitation. The social worker, it's a whole thing. Suing, it's a whole thing. But the reason that my ex has a leg up in family court right now is because he's backed by the social worker report. I have the psychiatrist report and the therapist report from dependency court saying that I'm good to go, but for some reason, when we first got into family court, it was like, "Oh, the social worker is backing this parent, so we're gonna take these extremely long steps to get back," and to it's a battle. It is an uphill battle, and I
Yeah.
left with custody. I had my custody of my daughter, and we were
Mhm.
squabbling over visitation. I just wanted my kid back 50-50. I didn't wanna be, you know, 2
Yeah.
hours a day here, 4 hours a day here, and we're going on over a year now, and it's
Yeah.
motion after motion,
Oh, it takes forever. Once somebody opens that door, you can be in court forever. Now we're going to be entering the season, right?
Mhm.
Christmas
Mhm.
and New Year's
Yep.
and
Holiday season
vacations, and people are
is the
taking off,
hardest.
and so um, that's going to be tough. I mean, it's another Christmas without your kids, and that's horrible. And I've had parents describe it to me as being like half asleep and looking, and then kind of like waking up and seeing your kid on the floor, and you just want to reach for them and pick them up.
I don't know what I just did, but I'm back.
And it's just heartbreaking that you guys have to go through that. I mean, it's just, I always say that the most unnatural thing is to be taken away from your kid, and that's why
I
everybody suffers when it happens.
Yeah.
Parents, kids, family, grandparents, neighbors, everybody is affected by it. It's one of the worst things that we can do to
I have
somebody.
never been through something as soul crushing as
Yeah.
having my daughter taken away as under false allegations.
Hmm.
My son had cancer for 6 years when he was 5. He did until he was 12. He's
Yeah.
23 now. Watching my son go through chemotherapy was less painful than having my daughter removed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Mike,
I can imagine.
I cannot tell you, a person that does that on purpose to another parent, eh,
Yeah.
is soulless, and then
Yeah.
what it does to your child. You might
Yeah.
not like this person anymore. You don't wanna be married to this person anymore, but your child still loves this person,
Hmm.
and you are literally ripping them away, and as parents,
Yeah.
we know that we are connected to our children.
I
Dads and
had a
moms.
I had a
Y
case where this this guy, he went and he thought that they got divorced like 8 years ago,
Mhm.
and he thought that, oh, if I want to have summer vacation with my kid, I just give them notice, let them know that I'm going to come pick them up, and it's going to be like 2 weeks. Kids are off, right? So each
That's
parent
how
gets
it
two
should
weeks,
be. That's how it should
right?
be, you know?
So
"You wanna take the
then
kids to Disneyland?" "Yeah, sure."
we want to take 2 weeks with your kid. You should take a month with your kid, right?
You
Once a year,
know?
whatever. If you both can do it, okay. So this is your turn. All
Mhm.
right. So anyway, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna come pick up my kid, and we're gonna have 2 weeks, and we're gonna put him in summer camp and all this stuff." She didn't like that. She looked at the order and she said, "We've never gone by this. This is the first time he's ever done this. Like, so what, right?"
Let him do it. Let
But
him be a
so she
daddy.
called the police and had the police come to pick up the kid from the dad. They took the kid, they gave it to mom, and um, dad put a restraining order on her boyfriend for trying to assault him.
Oh,
And
that's what I
then
remember.
there was a restraining order
Mhm.
so that the kid who lived in the house with the boyfriend and the mom, the boyfriend, instead of the mom, instead of having the boyfriend leave, had the kid leave
Mhm.
and live with her parents for an
Mhm.
entire month.
Mhm.
And that kid was devastated to be there. So instead of spending 2 weeks letting his father spend 2 weeks with the kid,
Well, and
she
that's
ruined his
another
summer.
thing. And to me, that would reflect poorly on the mother in court. I would think that, the judge, because the judge is looking at
Oh, and
what's
then
the
the
best
kid
for the
said,
kid.
"It's your fault I had to stay with grandma."
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's your
you were
fault. I
the
remember, like,
your client was the bad guy. I remember. Weren't they
so that hearing's
coaching
in
the
January, so we'll see what happens.
weren't they coaching the kid too?
Yeah, there's
To
a lot of
say that
coaching.
he's not
Alienation. What are you
around
gonna
and
do?
so on.
Yeah,
The boyfriend
yeah. They
wasn't
said
around.
that the minor counsel. Oh, the mom didn't like the minors counsel. Obviously, the minors counsel didn't like her, and so she told the kid, "I don't like the minors counsel." And the kid was like, "Oh, I don't like her either."
Right.
Like, you're not supposed
Yeah.
to talk about this case. Number one, you know,
Mhm.
what does a kid have an opinion about the minors counsel? That shouldn't be a thing. I mean, kids have their own
No.
opinion, right? But it shouldn't come from the parent. The
Why
parent shouldn't influence them.
how would the kid even know that there was a problem with minors counsel unless he was
Exactly.
told? Because
They're,
when
you
you
might think they're a snake or love them,
right,
but the
but when a
kid's not
kid
going to know any
goes
different. They're going to treat the kid differently,
right, but when
right?
a kid goes in to talk with their counsel, all they're doing is asking them questions. How's your day? How do you feel about this? A child wouldn't be like, I have a problem with minors counsel unless that was whispered into his ear.
Oh yeah,
Because they're
yeah,
just supposed to be general questions to the child to get an idea of what's going on at home.
right.
When is minors
So
counsel usually brought in? Because that's not brought in on every case, correct?
no, but if there's like an issue of abuse or allegations of alcohol or whatever, right? And then
Or is
also the kids
CPS
are young,
looming?
and or the parents are just not gonna
High conflict.
resolve this. Yeah, high conflict, exactly.
Right.
High conflict or substance abuse or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, then a minors counsel is gonna come in and see like what's going on. If
Now,
the guy's like the guy drinks after work with his friends, and cracks some beers open when his kids are home.
well, if he's not getting
Um,
belligerent, it's not against the
yeah, but
law.
at the same time, like at what point is this okay? You're not spending time with your kid really, so you're drinking. Or like I had a parent who would take his kid on his time to like Wild Wings and would drink like 3 22s,
Okay,
right?
that's not
And watch it.
safe. And that's,
Yeah, we never got in trouble or anything, but yeah, I mean the kid's sitting there listening to his dad slur words and like sound like a change and stuff. Like he doesn't want that.
well, no, no, no. But if you're at home having dinner and you want to have a beer, that shouldn't be a
That's
problem.
different. That's
Or if
completely
you're at
different.
or if you're at home barbecuing and the kids are swimming or
Right.
whatever, and you're not
So
belligerent.
I'm trying to say like the contrast between someone's got 4 DUIs
Right.
and whatever, and is just alcoholic, full blown, needs help
But there's the other
versus a
parent
dad
that
is
will use that. Oh, he had a beer with the kids when they were swimming and barbecuing
yeah.
to gain
But
leverage.
then that's going to be laughed at court if that's all they're going to bring in. That's
Mm.
ridiculous.
But it does get
Um,
in.
oh, it gets in. He'll get you into court,
There,
but
it's
yeah,
crazy
hopefully
what's
the
let in.
judge is going to reprimand you
Right.
for doing that. So,
Um,
what else are you going to say? Minute orders. Oh, okay. So then another thing that people do is they abuse orders. All right.
right.
So if the order is ambiguous, like what do you do? I had a client who had 5 supervisors. It was one of those, Tim. It was exit orders, and the
Mhm.
exit orders were five visits with mom,
Mhm.
supervised. That's
Mhm.
it. And the judge or the clerk didn't write consecutive,
Mhm.
and so the parent would allow the mom to see the kid like once every 3 months. And then, no, actually, you know what? She never got a visitation because she was trying to get the monitor. The monitor couldn't get dad to do it. There was always COVID. There was always something.
Right.
And so I went in and fixed it, like ex parte.
Mm-hmm.
And I told the judge, and it cost my client like 3,000 something. And I was able to get the attorney's fees from the other side.
Can you explain about attorney's fees since we're
Oh, yeah.
what
So
actually it entails and what
yeah,
because I didn't even know. I was like, well,
that's
isn't the court paying
that's
you?
a good topic all by itself because there's so many ways, and there's a lot of people who don't have money, right? Or are going through a divorce and is like, I can't afford an attorney.
Right.
But there's a lot of options, right?
I guess
So
my question is,
if one side doesn't have money and the other side has an attorney,
that's what I was going to say.
what are you going to do?
Right. What is
So,
what constitutes you being able to ask for attorney's fees?
so the rule is like early in the proceedings, each side should have an equal way to defend themselves. Because if you think about it, you're married, everything's community property, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you get asked out, and the other person's you've been a housewife or whatever, a house husband for 20 years, and then all of a sudden the other side kicks you out, and you have no way to pay for your stuff.
Right.
That money that he's spending on his attorney is money that the judge can order. Well, the money he's spending on his attorney is family money. It's money that he made while you guys
Marital
were married,
asset.
right?
Right.
Yeah, it's community property.
Right.
So you're asking the judge for some community property basically to pay the attorney. This guy's using his paychecks and his funds and his whatever to get the best attorneys out there. So you should be doing too.
Right.
I mean, so I come in and I say there's a huge disparity in income here, and all these other reasons why you should get that money. And so judge will grant you $15,000, $20,000, $5,000 that the other side has to pay in payments, $1,000 a month or whatever the case is. So,
if somebody does something incorrect or violates a court order, can you ask for and then you have to get an attorney to defend yourself? Can you ask for attorney's fees from the other party because they violated the court order?
I do that all the time. So I have to go in and I have to fix something. I have to go in and I have to defend something. Like if the judge orders a accountant to be paid by both parties, right? And then all the discovery is done, and this guy says, "What do we need the accountant for?" If we go forward with the accountant, I'm going to ask that your client pay for the whole thing. If that would happen, and I told him that already was decided. If I have to go back to court for that, I'm going to ask for attorney's fees. I'm going to sanction your client for wasting my time.
I was going to say, what are sanctions?
Yeah.
Because
there's the attorney's fees, and then there's sanctions. Sanctions are penalties, right? How do we penalize people in this country or around the world? What do? You either take their freedom away or their money, right?
Right.
That's basically it.
Right.
Freedom or money. You go in jail, you're going to spend some time in jail, and you're going to pay community. There's only two ways to penalize someone. You're speeding. How are you going to get? Why do we all slow down when we see a cop? And how come, we don't really like them sometimes? Because they take money away from you,
right? Or your freedom.
Yeah, or your freedom.
Liberties.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I love firemen. Well, he's going to come save you versus charging you.
So what happens if the other parent doesn't pay the attorney's fees?
Then you get contempt. Judge orders something, you're not doing it. It's called contempt. One time. You look at it, it's a tiered system. So one is like 5 days, and then twice is like some other significant amount of numbers, and third time it's like 6 months. So it's like
that's the order to show cause for the contempt, right?
So no, each act of contempt is one. If it's one act, then it's like 5 days maximum in jail.
38.
38, you're locked up. You're locked up for a long time.
Well,
After 5, that's what I mean. Like after
right.
3 or 5, you're locked up for a
So
long time.
they can claim ignorance on 1 or 2, but
Mhm.
so what happens, like in our previous case, Mario was ordered to pay attorney's fees to you,
Yeah.
and he never did. I don't
Well,
think.
if never did, then
No, but what
I
I'm saying
would.
is, remember we went to court and it was like we got everything granted on ex parte for
Yeah.
like a week,
Hmm.
and then we saw the other judge, but nothing was undone. So
Yeah.
does
There
I mean
was.
that's
I
it's my
remember there
go
was like
ahead.
a fine.
Right.
Um,
I guess my
judge.
question is, how does one go about getting the other parent to pay the money after they've been ordered?
You
That's
have
another
to file an
question.
order. You have to file a request for order, ex parte, go in, whatever. Say like, this is happening.
Okay, so you don't have to
And
call
then
the
and then you get
parent
a
up.
judgment, and then you put the judgment on their property or their bank or their stocks or whatever the case is.
Mhm.
So if somebody owes you money, or yeah, if you owe somebody money, they can sue you
Mhm.
and then take your money, right? Say you have an account or a car or a
Right.
house.
Right.
So they sue you. There's a judgment. Oh, does he have any money? No, he has his house. Okay,
Mhm.
then I'm gonna put a lien on the house,
Mhm.
and if he ever sells that house, I'm gonna get my money out of it,
Okay. I
or your
just
car, or whatever, or both, or everything
because
you own.
I don't think, because I didn't know in the beginning, parents don't know that there's not a magical fund of attorney's money that the court just hands
No,
out to the attorneys when they walk into the courtroom. Like it has to
no,
come from somewhere.
right? It has to come from the other side.
And then there
Um,
has to be penalties if the other side doesn't. I mean, you could go after somebody for attorney's fees and sue them if they never
yeah,
paid you, correct? Like a
yeah.
client. Like if you had a client not pay you.
If I had a, oh yeah, well that's a contract. That's a breach
Mhm.
of contract.
Mhm.
The same thing. It's a contract. What was the agreement? Were the terms there? Was there an offer, acceptance? Did you guys both offers have something to give each other? Then you have a contract. And if you don't pay, at the end, just like anything else, hey, I paid this guy's house.
Mhm.
Well, um, did you have a contract? You have an agreement? Yeah,
Mhm.
it was verbal. Then you're going to need to do a little bit more to prove that. Well, obviously, you signed a retainer.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Okay. Cause like I said, attorney's fees are a big, hiring attorneys
Topic.
it's a big thing for a parent, especially low income parents. And you really shouldn't go in there alone. But trying to explain attorney's fees to somebody, um, who has hardly any money at all, and they're trying to get their kid back, it's like,
Another thing is like if you have a house.
mhm,
So let's say you don't have any money, but you have a house.
mhm,
Sometimes I'll do work for a client, and then ultimately their house is going to be sold, right? So whatever their cut is going to be, they'll just
mhm,
pay me my, you know,
mhm.
pennies or whatever. And so,
Well, you're pretty good. You work with parents, but there's some attorneys that won't cut corners on their fees, which,
yeah.
it's your job. I'm not asking you to, but luckily you are one that, case by case
Oh,
basis.
yeah. I mean, I'll listen to you. I'll see where we can figure this out. I mean,
Mhm,
a lot of attorneys don't look. A lot of attorneys just want to do child custody visitation and
mhm,
modification of spouse support and child support. They
mhm,
don't want to do anything that's contested.
mhm,
That they don't want to go to trial. They don't want to start from the beginning,
mhm.
right? If there's going to be a huge fight over
You
funds
don't
and stuff
wanna
like
do a
that.
motion to set aside and start
They don't
over.
want to do emotion set aside. No. So, the big time attorneys like me who are going to go fight for everything,
Mhm.
especially your children and your property and your home and your money, your livelihood. Everything in a divorce is what? It's everything you ever worked for. It's your life. It's your kids. It's your house. It's all your money. Is there anything else that's more important than that?
No, your children and your the roof over your head, no.
Yeah, nothing.
But,
So,
I was wondering if parents, like I said, they're on the lower income,
yeah.
can they hire like somebody like you for a consultation or to represent them for one day or to look
Yeah.
over their paperwork, or do you have to like get a whole retainer?
Oh, you know what? You should share this with your clients. I work with a firm that offers very low family law service, amounts of money for family law. It's called Budget Legal,
Uh-huh.
and they're in Los Alamitos. And my friend Ed, who owns it, he's just like me. It's like, okay, can we do this? Can we get this done with one RFO or whatever for
Mhm.
$500, $1,000, $1,200, whatever it is. So those things, I mean, you don't have to go put $5,000 down a retainer. You need somebody to show up at your hearing.
Mhm.
Um, I could charge $1,000 to do it
Mhm.
easily.
No,
My
yeah,
friends, I
but you
charge. I
can.
mean, but I charge 500. I used, but if somebody really needs it and I'm free, then I'll do it. I don't care
Well, I mean, I know that
for the
you
day.
would. I know that you would do that because I know you as a person. But I'm saying,
Yeah,
can somebody hire just an attorney to represent them for one motion or one
yeah, of course. It's
one
called an
thing,
appearance
not the
attorney.
whole thing?
Yeah, it's called an appearance attorney,
Okay.
and you could do that anytime. And we don't
Sometimes
even
you
need a
don't always.
contract.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't always need a lawyer. You just are
Yeah,
afraid to stand up in front of the judge.
I've done this for women specifically who are afraid of their boyfriend or husband or
Hmm.
have been abused by them or
Hmm.
just afraid to go to court by themselves. You know,
I remember
so
I went with you one time.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
But so
yeah, that was a good one.
there's lots of ways to get help without having deep pockets. But then
Mhm.
also there's the traditional way of requesting that the other side pay for attorney's fees.
Okay, yes, yeah. So I mean, you get it right. You get attorney who's in it for the people and for all the right reasons. Then they're gonna help you figure something out. I know
Mhm.
I will. I know Budget Legal will. Um,
What are some
and
red
that's a
flags for people to look out that are for bad attorneys? Like don't
non-responsive,
uh-huh.
um, unfamiliar with your case,
Mhm.
um, nothing's getting done.
Mhm.
You know, those are things just like, and you got to be on top of it. You got to be on top of it.
Um
So nothing's getting done. That's time for you to have that talk.
mhm.
A lot of people think that attorneys are the boss, right? You don't ask them questions; they know what they're doing. But it's not true. I mean, I tell people all the time, yeah. They think, oh, you're so lucky. You can do whatever you want. You have freedom. You can go any place. You go pick up your kid, whatever it is. If you want to sleep in,
Mhm.
okay. It's not like that, right? But my bosses are my clients. So if I get a call at 8 o'clock in the morning from my boss, then I'm going to listen to it. Right? That's my client.
Right.
What's going on? What's the issue? Oh, you didn't get back to me last night. It's like, well, I talked to you at 7 o'clock last night. Like,
Oh,
it's like, give me a break.
what's a good as an attorney, what
Mhm.
is a normal amount of I'll call you back. When are they when are they are are they
Trying to get my phone number on there. You
when
see
are
it?
they I don't see
I'm
it
sorry.
yet.
Go ahead.
It's okay. I was going to say, what is too long of a wait? Because attorneys have other cases. You're not the only one.
Yeah.
So if you're waiting 2 days, that's okay. But if you're waiting, how long is too long
Um,
for?
I mean, it depends on the severity of what's happening. So I had a client say, we went to our hearing. We don't have anything for like another 2 months. And she called and I said, hey, I haven't heard from you for a long time.
Mhm.
And she said, well, I know the case is not hot right now. So if there's anything going on, you would have told me. Like, you're
Mhm.
right. If there was something for me to tell you, I'd tell you.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's me, so sometimes you have to follow up. Like if
Mhm.
there's a hearing or something we have to do, then we're talking all the time. Right. We're working stuff. I need you to sign stuff. We're filing things. Like
Mhm.
we're going to war. I want to know
Mhm.
every detail. So if your attorney is not responsive, that's a big indication that they're not taking you seriously, or they don't know what's going on in your case.
Right. Well,
So
you know,
that's, give me a call.
I have people that are like, my attorney hasn't called me back, and I sent him a message, you know, an hour ago or 24
That's
hours
ridiculous.
ago. I'm like,
Yeah.
you got to give them 20,
Yeah.
48 hours. And then if they're not
Mhm.
calling you back, I mean, if you have a hearing the
I
next
think
day,
I would tell
obviously.
a client like a couple times, like, hey, that's not how it works. You just got to give me time, relax, and don't.
Mhm.
I've had clients inundate me with emails. It's
Or
like,
how about a
I'm
client that's
not.
like,
If I read all this stuff, you're not gonna have any money left, right? Wait
what
till
about
I
a
call you.
client? What about the client that told you, don't call me on the weekends?
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
your attorney.
No,
I'm trying to do
it
your work.
was Friday night. It was Friday night, and it wasn't my client. I was the guy married this.
It was
I don't even
it was
know. She was
something I
out of her
remember
mind.
it being like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. So you're
It was,
mad
it
your
was
attorney's
7:30.
contacting you.
It was 7:30 on Friday, and she said she had emotional distress from me sending her an email after work hours, and to speak to her in a lawyerly way.
Well,
And I'm
the
like,
thing
well,
is,
you're not a lawyer. I want to tell you these things in terms you understand. I'm going to talk to you like I talk to my friends,
well, the
right?
thing
Unless we're in
is,
court or it's, I'm talking to another attorney or somebody. This is how I talk to regularly,
I'm
right?
just shocked because most people can't get their attorneys on the phone
Yeah.
and they can't get any. But and then this
No, no,
lady,
no. That was the other side, not my client. That wasn't my client
the
who
lady that
complained
was like,
about.
don't call me on the weekends.
Yeah, that wasn't my client. That was, yeah, but that was funny. Yeah. She was out
I,
of her mind.
yeah. I was just like, wait a minute. If
Yeah.
I have an attorney, I want him to call me no matter when it is. Like, don't bother
Yeah.
me on the
I'm
weekends.
always I'm always touching base with my clients. I'm always
Mhm.
texting them. I'm always sending them an email, telling them what's happening. If something comes up, I'm always they always know that I'm available. And they
Mhm.
always know that I'm just one text message away.
I was gonna say the
Um,
best way to communicate with you is through text
yeah,
message, and that's
yeah,
personally with me.
yeah,
I would send
yeah,
you a message and be like, "Hey, but ABCD happened, just so you
yeah,
know,"
right.
and it wasn't
And then
like,
go
"Call me
boom.
back" or blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So
It's like I'll call you in 2 hours,
right,
or I'm in court, or
right,
I'm with a client, or
or
whatever
you
it
don't have
is.
to call me back. I just want you to know that this
Yeah,
is what
exactly.
this.
Or I'll just answer,
Right.
or just say I got it or whatever.
Yeah.
So I have I had a client that signed up on Friday.
Hmm.
Today's Sunday. The hearing's tomorrow,
Hmm.
and she's like, "You didn't file all this stuff, income and expense reports, trial binders, briefs, all that stuff." I'm like, "Look,
The
she
court's
hired me on
closed.
like 7 o'clock on Friday.
Hmm.
We're gonna ask for continuance. I think the court will grant one. So just
Right.
relax." Yeah.
Oh,
So anyway,
quickly,
mhm,
a continuance.
yeah,
What are the grounds you can ask for a continuance? Because I know you can't just say because, or can you? Like you have to
no.
have because
So me
it's a
being
waste of
retained on Friday night wouldn't give me enough time to represent this person
right. So you
properly.
took over a case. You could be like, look, I'm taking over
I just
this
took over.
case.
Yeah, I just took over a case. Or I mean, you can have something like, um, if you know that there's a scheduling error, then you can file for that. You can ask the other side, change the
Mhm.
date. If they're going to be, jerks about it, then
Mhm.
you can file a request for yourself. You can file an ex parte. You have good cause. It's all
Mhm.
about good cause. Do you have good cause?
You can't just
So
be like,
not knowing
I
the
forgot.
case, no, 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 that's not going to work. But
You can try it,
if
but
you
it might
have
not
the
work.
right attorney, and there's something that you didn't do or something that pops up, um, if they're suave or whatever the word is, foxy, then sly,
Mhm.
then they can figure out a way to end it.
Right.
Like I said, there's attorneys out there who say, um, I have 40 exhibits and 30 people want to testify. There's no way I can do it today.
Well, yeah, that's their whole thing is
I mean,
dragging it out, and that's not going to
yeah,
help
it's just
anybody.
there's ways. Yeah,
It's not going to help anybody.
yeah.
But
All right.
so we're
Well,
at our hour.
it's great. Yes.
Um,
Great talking to you. Thank you for everybody for your questions. And I'll be back on next Sunday.
yeah, next Sunday, and then we'll
Yeah. You sure?
we'll have another topic. Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I
So
like
I
it.
want to say thank you to Mike. Thank you to everyone for joining. Also, I would like to say something personal really quick. I have a friend of mine, her partner just died. We're doing a GoFundMe for him. He overdosed on fentanyl
Oof. Ah,
and left her with all of the responsibility of what happened before the overdose and now the services. And so I wanted to take a minute to say, if you can help, go. If you can't help, go share. But this fentanyl thing is insane.
stay
And
away from that stuff, man.
just if you
It's
know
super
somebody that
addicting.
needs help them get help. But it's like, it's no joke. And I'm seeing it now, like, repeatedly. And a friend of mine just lost her boyfriend. So,
I'm so sorry to hear that.
yeah, it was a
What's the
shock.
how do you get to the GoFundMe?
It's on my page. It's on
Okay.
my Facebook page, so you can go there. And then if you can't donate, then share the link.
Okay.
And there's his story, and then there's also some information about fentanyl and how dangerous it is right now. And how people are dying taking it one time.
Oh yeah. Being
So
around it, some people
yeah, and it's the
die.
holidays, and it's all bad.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
never
Be here
do
for your
this,
family. Be
right?
here to fight your fight.
Mhm. So
Um, it'll
anyways,
all be over one day.
thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. I'll talk to you
Thank you.
later.
Thank you, Aaron.
And then we'll see you guys on Sunday.
All right. Bye bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Call me.
I'll call you.
All right.
Right.